I always believed that love was supposed to feel safe, like a quiet Sunday morning. The kind where sunlight spills across the kitchen table, and you can smell pancakes and coffee, and everything in your world feels still and certain. I used to think that was what I had. I used to believe my life was something people envied. Now every time I walk past the mirror, I see the ghost of that woman I used to be, trusting, gentle, blind. The woman who had no idea that her own sister would be the one to set fire to everything she loved. My sister Olivia was my best friend long before she became my enemy. We grew up sharing clothes, secrets, dreams, and the same tiny bedroom with the peeling wallpaper that our mother never got around to fixing. She was the beautiful one, soft blonde curls, ocean blue eyes, and a smile that could melt anyone's anger. I was the quiet one, the older sister who always cleaned up, fixed things, took care of her. I protected her from everything: boys, heartbreak, trouble. I never imagined I'd one day have to protect myself from her. When Daniel came into my life, it felt like a movie scene. He was charming in that disarming boy-next-door way. Brown hair, crooked smile, and eyes that seemed to read me before I even spoke. We met at a charity event downtown, and from the first conversation, I knew something was different. He made me laugh in a way I hadn't in years. 6 months later, he proposed in front of the old oak tree at Lincoln Park, and I said yes with tears in my eyes. Olivia was the first person I called. She screamed on the phone, thrilled for me. She told me she'd never seen me so happy. The wedding was small but beautiful. Olivia stood beside me as my maid of honor, holding my bouquet with trembling hands as I promised forever to the man I thought I could trust. She cried during the vows, soft, delicate tears that everyone thought were joy. But now, when I replay that day in my head, I remember the way Daniel looked at her when he thought no one was watching. Just a glance so small it could have meant nothing. But the memory of it sits heavy in my stomach now, like a bruise that never fades. Married life started perfectly. We bought a cozy house on the outskirts of Seattle, surrounded by pine trees and soft rain. Mornings smelled of coffee and cinnamon. Nights were full of laughter and soft music. I sent Olivia pictures of our new home, of Daniel cooking breakfast, of me painting the living room walls. She always replied with hearts and long messages about how proud she was. When she broke up with her boyfriend and said she needed a break from city life, I told her to come stay with us for a few weeks. "It'll be like old times," I said, smiling. "You need some family time." If I'd known what those weeks would cost me, I'd have locked the door and never opened it. Olivia arrived on a rainy Thursday evening, her hair damp, her eyes tired but sparkling. Daniel helped her with her luggage, and I remember the way she laughed at one of his silly jokes while shaking off her umbrella. I didn't think much of it. She'd always been friendly, charming. That night, the three of us sat by the fire drinking wine, talking about old times. Olivia told stories from our childhood that made Daniel laugh so hard he nearly spilled his drink. I remember feeling warm, content, grateful. But soon little things began to shift. She started spending more time downstairs when I went to bed early. I'd wake up and find 2 empty wine glasses in the sink. Once I came downstairs at midnight and saw her sitting on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, Daniel beside her, the TV light flickering across their faces. They both looked startled, like kids caught sneaking out after curfew. Daniel mumbled something about a movie, and Olivia smiled, brushing it off. I wanted to believe them. I did believe them, because believing otherwise would mean something was wrong, and I wasn't ready for wrong. A week later, I noticed the perfume. Olivia's perfume was sweet, vanilla and jasmine. Daniel never liked strong scents. But one evening, when I hugged him from behind, that same fragrance lingered faintly on his shirt collar. I asked about it casually, laughing, pretending it didn't bother me. He said she'd borrowed his jacket earlier because she was cold. It made sense. It had to make sense. But after that, I began noticing more. How her laughter lingered when he walked into the room. How he seemed to fix his hair more often. How they shared inside jokes I didn't understand. Once, I caught them cooking together in the kitchen, her hand brushing his as they both reached for the salt. It was small, innocent. But the air between them, it was charged like static before a storm. I told myself I was being paranoid. That jealousy was ugly, and I wasn't that kind of woman. But at night, when I lay awake listening to the faint sounds of them talking downstairs, I felt a cold ache crawl up my spine. One Saturday morning, I walked into the living room and froze. Daniel was sitting on the couch, and Olivia was leaning over him, her hand on his shoulder, whispering something that made him smile. When she noticed me, she jumped back like she'd touched fire. Daniel's face went pale. "Morning," I said softly, pretending not to notice the silence that followed. That night I cried in the shower where no one could hear me. The water mixed with my tears, washing away nothing. The next day I confronted her. "Olivia," I said, my voice trembling, "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me." She looked up from her phone, surprised. "Sure. What's wrong? Are you and Daniel?" I couldn't finish the sentence. My throat tightened. Her eyes widened, then she laughed. "God, no. You think I'd do that to you? To my sister?" She stepped closer, her hand brushing mine. "You're tired. You've been working too much. Please don't let your mind go there." And just like that, I wanted to believe her again. Because she was my sister. Because I loved her. Because I needed to believe someone still loved me back. But betrayal is a slow poison. It doesn't kill you all at once. It seeps in day by day, until your heartbeat feels like a warning. It happened 2 weeks later. I came home early from work. The house was quiet except for faint music coming from upstairs, our bedroom. My heart began to pound. I called out Daniel's name, but no one answered. Step by step I climbed the stairs. My hands shook as I turned the doorknob. The door opened, and there they were. Daniel, Olivia, my sister. In my bed. The world tilted. I remember the sound of my breath breaking like glass shattering in my chest. Daniel jumped up, stammering, reaching for words that didn't exist. Olivia froze, her eyes wide with shock, or maybe guilt. For a long moment none of us spoke. The silence was louder than a scream. "Get out," I whispered. Daniel tried to reach for me. "Please, it's not. Get out." My voice cracked, but the anger underneath it felt volcanic. They scrambled for their clothes, avoiding my eyes. I remember the way Olivia looked at me before she left. Like she wanted to say something but didn't. The door slammed. The house went silent again. That night I sat in the living room, staring at the flickering fire, my wedding ring still on my finger. I turned it over and over until the metal felt like ice. My sister's laughter echoed faintly in my memory, the sound now hollow and cruel. Daniel left the next morning. No goodbye, no note. Just a suitcase missing from the closet. I heard later they moved in together somewhere in Portland. I didn't go after them. I couldn't. Some wounds are too deep to chase. For months I lived like a ghost. The house became a museum of what once was. Photos, wine glasses. A half-painted wall we'd planned to finish together. Every corner whispered memories I wanted to forget. Sometimes I'd wake up at night, thinking I heard his voice or her laugh. But it was just the house creaking under the weight of what they'd done. People told me to move on. To heal. But how do you heal when the knife came from the same hand that used to hold yours? It's been 8 years since that night. 8 long years since the walls of my house saw what my eyes should never have seen. 8 years since I buried the version of myself who believed love could never come with betrayal. I live alone now, in a smaller house on the edge of a quiet town outside Denver. My days are slow, gentle. I teach art at a local community center, paint landscapes no one ever sees, and drink my coffee black because sugar reminds me of the sweetness I no longer trust. Life has become a kind of silence I've learned to live with. I don't talk about the past. I let it sit quietly in the corners of my mind, like dust I'm too tired to sweep away. Until tonight. It's late, just past midnight, when my phone rings. I almost don't answer. The screen shows a number I don't recognize, but something in me knows before I pick up. I hear my mother's voice, cracked and trembling. "Sweetheart," she says. It's Olivia. She's in the hospital. It's bad. You should come." For a moment, everything inside me stops. My hand tightens around the phone. I want to ask why me, why after all these years should I come running for the woman who stole everything from me? But the words don't come out. Only a whisper does. "I'll be there," I say. The drive to the hospital feels endless. The night outside the windshield is cold and starless, the world swallowed in silence. My fingers tremble on the steering wheel. Not from the chill but from the flood of memories clawing their way up from the dark. Her laughter. His voice. The door slamming that last night. When I finally reach the hospital, the smell of antiseptic hits me like a wall, sharp, sterile, unforgiving. The halls are too white, too bright. My mother sits in the waiting area, her hands clenched around a tissue. Her face is older, worn, the weight of time and pain resting in the lines around her eyes. She had a car accident, she says softly when she sees me. They don't know if she'll make it through the night. My stomach twists. I should feel anger, maybe satisfaction. But what rises instead is something heavier, grief for what could have been, for the pieces of family we both destroyed. I walk down the corridor to her room. The sound of machines fills the air, steady beeps, quiet hisses. The door creaks as I push it open. And there she is, Olivia. Her blonde hair is gone, replaced by pale, uneven strands that frame her face. There's a deep scar along her neck, and her skin looks translucent under the hospital lights. She looks smaller than I remember, fragile, almost like a child. For a moment I can't breathe. My chest feels like it's caving in. She opens her eyes slowly, struggling to focus. When she sees me, tears slip down her temples. Emma. Her voice is a rasp, barely there. I don't know what to say. My throat tightens. All the words I've saved for 8 years. Anger, questions, accusations, they all vanish. What's left is silence. You came, she whispers. I nod, stepping closer. Mom called. A faint smile flickers across her face. Of course she did. She always believed you'd forgive me. I swallow hard, my hands trembling. I didn't come to forgive you, Olivia. I came because I needed to see for myself that you're real. That you're not just a ghost I keep fighting in my sleep. Her eyes close for a moment, a tear escaping. I deserve that. We sit in silence for a while, the beeping of the monitor filling the gaps words can't reach. Then she speaks again, her voice weaker, thinner. I lost him, you know. My heart stops. Daniel. She nods slowly. He left 3 years after we moved to Portland. Said he couldn't look at me without seeing you. Said he made the biggest mistake of his life. I stare at her, the words twisting something deep inside me. He said that. Yes. Her lips tremble. I thought I'd won, Emma. I thought taking him meant I'd finally have everything you did. But I never did. He never loved me like he loved you. Tears blur my vision. I turn away, gripping the railing beside her bed. The smell of antiseptic burns my nose, and I wish the walls would stop spinning. She continues, her words breaking between shallow breaths. Every night I saw your face when I closed my eyes. Every morning I hated myself a little more. I tried to reach out so many times, but I couldn't face you. I didn't deserve to. Then why now? I ask, my voice barely a whisper. Her eyes find mine, weak but clear. Because I needed you to know. I was jealous. Always. Even when we were kids. You had everything that mattered, Mom's pride, Dad's patience, his love, Daniel's heart. And I couldn't stand it. I wanted to be you. But when I took what you had, I realized I'd only taken my own soul. My knees give out, and I sink into the chair beside her. I press my hands over my face, and for the first time in years I let myself cry. Not for him, not for me, but for the sister I lost long before she ever betrayed me. When I finally look up, her breathing has grown shallower. Panic rises in my chest. Olivia. I whisper. Stay with me, okay? Just stay. She looks at me, her eyes glassy, a faint smile on her lips. I'm sorry, Emma. I never stopped loving you. Even when I didn't deserve to. Her hand reaches weakly for mine. I take it. It's cold. Her fingers twitch once, then still. The monitor flattens into a long, steady tone. And just like that, she's gone. The room fills with the echo of the sound. Nurses rush in, my mother cries somewhere behind me. But I just sit there, staring at her hand in mine. Her face looks peaceful now, almost like she's finally forgiven herself in death the way I couldn't in life. I stay there for hours, holding her hand long after they turn off the machines. The sun starts to rise outside, golden light spilling through the blinds, touching her face. I whisper into the quiet, my voice breaking. I forgive you. The words hurt coming out, but somehow they free me. Weeks later, I stand in front of her grave, a small stone under a maple tree. The wind moves softly through the leaves. I brought one of her old hairpins, the silver one she always wore when we were teenagers. I place it on the grass beside her name. I hope you found peace, I whisper. Because I think I finally did too. I look up at the sky. The same sky we used to stare at when we were kids, dreaming about who we'd become. I realize now that maybe forgiveness isn't about letting someone back in. It's about letting them go without hate. When I walk away from the grave, I don't look back. But I feel something lift from my chest. The ache doesn't vanish, but it changes, turns softer, quieter. At home, I sit by the window as rain begins to fall. For the first time in years, I light a candle and let the house fill with the scent of vanilla and jasmine. The same scent that once broke me now feels like memory. Faint, distant, almost kind. I close my eyes and picture Olivia laughing again. Carefree and young, before the jealousy, before Daniel, before everything shattered. Maybe somewhere, in whatever comes next, she's that girl again. And maybe in some small way we're sisters again too. The candle flickers once like a heartbeat, then burns steady. I take a deep breath, whisper to the empty room, "Goodbye, Olivia." And for the first time in 8 years, the silence doesn't hurt anymore.